Thank heaven for little girls. Is that what Bill Belichick is singing right now? We have to have an ode to the French today, Lubie. It's NBA draft day. Looks like the top two picks are going to be Frenchmen, kids that we haven't seen play at all, kids that are highly touted, and kids that we don't know if they're going to make it in the NBA. I love the NBA draft. I almost thought I said WNBA draft because that's all anybody's paying attention to now. Because it's as vague as anything can get. We have seen many bad choices made. The best part about it, I hope Hubie Brown is working it tonight for ESPN. I didn't see any mention of Hubie. Did you? They've had like 18-person panels there 3 days before the draft. As we're going to go over a bunch of players that we really have no clue about. But I like when Hubie would say, yeah, well, he's a two-way player with a high ceiling and a low floor. He's a coach's dream. He's like having a coach on the court, and he's coachable at the same time. And this kid's really going to be an asset to the team. And then it turns out that he happens to be the number 56 pick that's never even going to make the squad. So it'll be a lot of fun tonight. Now, you can bet on the draft, which is really the highlight. And if you are betting on any of this sort of thing, any kind of sports, BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right on through the top fights in the UFC, MMA, and boxing. A lot of big stuff going on there. Every stat, every matchup, you're going to have it, even with live odds and spreads while the games are being played. Right in the middle of the game, you get new odds. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino. You can play poker, you can play blackjack, you can participate with any of the 150-plus slot games that are available to you. Head to the website today and make sure you use the promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV. That'll get you a 50% welcome bonus on your very first deposit. Bet online. The game starts here. I've had odd experiences with the draft. You and I have argued over many a draft, Mike Lubie says, involving the Miami Heat, who picked 15th, which is a spot that they normally have some success, right in that mid-teens. They drafted Bam Adebayo. They drafted Tyler Hero. Bam Adebayo, an all-star and an all-defensive guy. Tyler Hero is still somewhat of a question mark in the Mysterians for the Miami Heat because everybody thinks he's capable of being a star. But would you say that Tyler Hero has been a fortuitous draft pick for the Miami Heat? You would have to say yes at that time. Middle of the first round of the draft, you get a player who has a high ceiling. Would you also have to have a low floor if you had a high ceiling? Or would you need a high floor? I'm not sure what floor that these guys are getting off on, but they've had some success there. Believe it or not, I'm looking at a mock draft, Lubie, and the Heat are scheduled to take, according to this one mock drafter, Zach Edey out of Purdue. Wow, right. That would be kind of a weird pick, wouldn't it? Zach Edey, although they could use a little bulk up on the size along the baseline there and in the paint with Bam Adebayo trying to defend all of these monsters that are in the NBA now and is up against it. Seriously height challenged when he goes against these 7+ footers who are now very prevalent in the NBA, including a couple of guys that might be coming into the league tonight. I guess our biggest debate was what? Justice Winslow at number 10. When he took Justice Winslow at number 10, and you thought, wow, my God, they've fallen into a pot of gold here. And we were screaming, Booker, Booker, Booker. 13 teams took 13 picks for Booker to come off the board there. And it just shows you that what? You ask yourself after every draft, how fucking blind are the scouts that this organization employs? What is it, Stevie Wonder out there? Is Jose Feliciano sitting in the stands at a Duke game trying to figure out which of the guys that they should take? So we'll see a lot of mistakes being made. I'm going to miss Susie Colbert on ESPN because I always loved it when the guy would come off the stage, some 18-year-old guy that's battling just outrageous amounts of acne that he's having to contend with. And you have him come off there. He's bewildered. He can't believe he was drafted by the Pistons of all places. And Susie would gush up to the guy and go, "Oh, it's so great that you got drafted. How would you describe your journey?" And you're thinking, what the fuck? I tuned into The Bachelorette. I meant to watch some sports here on TV tonight, and it's just not happening. But we'll see what happens with that. As it looks like the two flying Frenchmen are going to go 1-2 in the draft, at least according to everybody. And then you got this Reed Shepherd kid who is a hell of a shooter. Well, wouldn't you want to draft a shooter, Lubie, if he was anything over 5'5"? would you not want to take a guy who could hoist threes all day? I remember going back, and this guy's name very prominent in the news today, but I only had occasion to traipse out and cover a couple of NBA drafts, actually being either anywhere near the so-called war room or in a facility where somebody might quickly come out and have some kind of reaction that you could get to who the team had selected and what their prospects were. And I remember Randy Fund, PFUND. I'll never forget the fact that I always thought it was Fund, but you forgot about the P. He was the GM of the Heat at the time, and it was the year that J.J. Redick was coming out of Duke in the draft, and I thought the Heat were in a position to maybe make that choice. And I asked Randy Fund, hey, what about J.J. Redick? And he looked at me like stunned, Lubie, and said, who's he going to guard? And I thought, is that even a consideration anymore? Because people are trying to convince you that defense wins championships. It seems to me 3-point shooting wins championships at this stage of NBA history. And J.J. Redick turned out to have a fairly successful career to the point where he not only had an excellent career in terms of making money, and those last few years, he was a sharp-shooting mercenary, remember? He kept going from team to team, and he was an asset to these teams. And now he has the head coaching job with the LA Lakers. In your wildest imagination, Lubie, did you foresee something like that happening? Now, people are always screaming, hey, where's the new blood? Give a new guy a shot. We don't want to see the same old tired retreads. And then when they do give a new guy a shot, everybody's stunned. Like, what? Hey, guy's got no experience. How the fuck is he going to coach Anthony Davis? Are you of the opinion? I know you think the Lakers suck. And they don't have a roster to be a championship team. J.J. Redick came off extremely confident that the Lakers actually had championship caliber talent. I'm usually surprised when they're about 50 games into the season and they're staggering around trying to put themselves in a position to be in the play-in game, Lubie. And I don't know, had they not run into the Nuggets in the first round, could they not have been competitive with some of the other teams that were in the postseason in the West?
I mean, you have LeBron and AD, and both stayed pretty healthy. I don't know. The last 2 years, they've been in that same exact position. Yeah, 2 years ago, they made it all the way to the conference finals, and the games were competitive versus the Nuggets, but they did get swept. And then last year, very similar. I mean, the games were pretty competitive, but they were sort of swept away. I just think at this stage, LeBron's going to get hurt at some point. AD's been hurt most of his career. So that's my problem with the Lakers. And the West has a lot of really young teams that have grown really fast. I mean, the Thunder are winning now. The T-Wolves are winning now. The Nuggets just won a title. And we're close again if Jamal Murray wasn't banged up. And then you still have a Clippers team that's hanging around. You have a Rockets team that's young, that's on the come up. You have the Kings that are young and seemingly on the come up. To me, the Lakers fall somewhere in between all that. And you're dealing with two older dudes that either are injured a lot or going to be injured. So that's my problem. And then now you have a coach who's never coached. He can be confident and he can be great on a fucking podcast. The guy's never coached anything. He's never coached. It's not even like Dion, where at least he sort of coached his kid's high school football team. He's never coached anything, like never. He just does a fucking podcast, and because he sounds like he knows what he's doing, he does color and analysis because that's worked so much. Like Riley had to fight tooth and nail to get a coaching job off of being a color analyst, and he was like an assistant off of that. Like
he was an afterthought. There was a revolution going on there. I was in LA at the time, and I remember Riley doing color analysis on the radio for Lakers games, which essentially you didn't need anybody in that chair because you had the great Chick Hearn yo-yoing up and down, and a guy looks like he came out of the popcorn machine. And basketball doesn't really, on the radio, doesn't really have a great need for a color analyst. I don't know if you've ever found that. I've called some basketball play-by-play, and you're waiting for the color analyst to shut the fuck up.
Out of room. Yeah.
There's just not a lot of room there because the ball's moving, and you want to describe where the hell it is. You're trying to paint the so-called word picture, and while Riley was very astute about basketball and threw in the occasional comment that you said, well, this guy's not bad, he was just a serious afterthought as a coach. It does seem like Redick was somewhat targeted by LeBron James, who also, I don't know what kind of pressure James is putting on the Laker organization to select Bronny James, but the big prop bet that I'm going to, I don't know, would you go over under 50.5 for Bronny James being selected in the draft? This is late second round. Somebody takes Bronny James. Is that like taking Bruce Jenner or even now Caitlyn Jenner? because you have the last pick and you know the guy's never going to make the roster. So you go ahead and pay homage to somebody that you respect as an athlete or as a human
Yep.
being. It's
Yep.
crazy. But yeah, this business with the Frenchman at the top, I mean, it's not like Wembanyama, who was a physical freak, a freak of nature. And now, hell, oh, look at this. Speaking of betting, Troy West about to join the party here. But yeah, you can bet on whether Bronny James will be over or under the 51st pick, which I don't know that I'm inclined to spend my money in that fashion. But you're thinking you're going to get a big nudge if you're the Lakers. I'm not sure where they select in the second round or even if they have a second round pick.
They have a pick at 55, and that's where I presume he'll go. Like
Yeah.
they do have the 55th pick. I could see them again. A 55th pick is useless most of the time, so I could see them. They're not using 17 on him, but I could see them using 55 on him. That's why I would go over 51.
Yeah, it's like taking Red Klotz or Red Holtzman or Red Auerbach with the 55th pick. Nobody's going to give a flying fuck about that. And yeah, this business with the French, what are they good at? They're good at making croissants, crepes, existential philosophers. You had Camus, Jean-Paul Sartre, but when did they become a basketball factory in France? Kind of interesting. So we'll see what happens with the NBA draft tonight. That Belichick thing is kind of weird, too. He defies the equation that we have. What is Belichick, 72 now?
Yes.
So our equation for dating younger women, if you're a guy out there and you're a lecherous creep, it would be, okay, let's be reasonable about it. Take your age, which with Belichick, that would be 72. Divide it in half, that's 36. Add 7 years. And the low ceiling, the low floor or whatever, would be 43 then. And this guy's dipping into a 24-year-old. Can you imagine when Belichick shows up to meet her parents?
Yeah.
That's got to be a fiasco. Have you ever done that, Lubie? Dated somebody that was, well, you're a young man yourself, so you're not.
Younger. My wife's 12 years younger, and that's like that was already super borderline. But she was vastly more mature than me in every facet, so it almost evened out. 72 to 2. I don't even. What do you do with it? And it's not like it was a one night. Like he's dating her. I don't know. What do you do with that? I don't even understand how that works.
24-year-old, he drives her to cheerleading practice, I think, in the morning and drops her off and says, I'll pick you up at 3 when school's out. That's great. I guess, there's a side of people that would say, you look at that with admiration. And then the other side thinks he's got to feel after he drops her off at her parents' house, like Bobby Kraft did when those cops saw him coming out of that Asian spa in Jupiter. Like, hey, Bob, is that you in there? Well, we were really looking after something else, but as long as you're here, try and figure out an explanation as to why you're in there getting a blowjob before a Patriot game that's going to take place 1,500 miles away. All right, let's make some money here. This guy's been on fire, Lubie. I don't know that we've ever had anybody with a run like this. And then on top of that, my friend Big Jack keeps telling me that Troy West is feeding him games every night, and just the other day had an unfortunate mishap in a baseball game with a late rally. Otherwise, he'd been undefeated for like months. Troy, welcome to the program. Troy West from Troy Wins. How are you, my friend?
Doing great, guys. Yeah, actually fed them another winner last night with the Astros -1.5 against the Rockies. Sometimes you just don't have to overthink it, but no, got another winner for all you guys in Florida, and congratulations to the Panthers. I was happy to see that happen. Still got a hangover from that win on Monday. Still 2 days later, but feeling good about that. And I've got another winner for you guys today.
I have a friend sent me a ticket after the Panthers won that he had punched up. Now this guy's a big bettor. I would imagine he had these pretty much lined up individually also. But he had parlayed a 4-component parlay. He had parlayed UConn to win the NCAA championship, to the Celtics to win the NBA championship, to the Panthers to win the Stanley Cup, and it's all tied to the Dodgers winning the World Series. Now, they offered him a payout of $16,000 already. Yep. He bet $100 on this. But if he holds on to the ticket and the Dodgers do win the World Series, he gets back $96,000 for his 100 on a 4-component parlay. Now, that's the way to make money. I have no luck there. The Dodgers, Ohtani would need elbow surgery on the other arm, even though he's not pitching. If I had that ticket, I don't know. What would you do in that case? Would you be tempted at all? The $16,000 seems a little light, but he only put up $100. Would you take it right now or let it ride to the Dodgers?
Well, I think we need to check his finances first, right? How bad
very
does he,
well
how
off
bad
this
does he need
guy,
the 16 grand?
I think he probably. Yeah, I think he probably took the 100 out of his pocket after betting all of these things individually and saying, yeah, what the fuck, parlay them. But
Yeah.
parlay is French for you're fucked, isn't it? I mean,
Mm.
essentially.
Typically, you do see these lottery tickets hit every once in a while, though. And I mean, if I was him, I'd let it ride a little bit longer. You know, you get into the playoffs and the Dodgers grab a first round. You know, I don't see them getting knocked in the first round, so they win their first round. That 16,000 should go up substantially, and then you should have some opportunities to potentially hedge at that point. So, tell your buddy congrats and hang on to that thing a little bit longer. Don't lose it.
I would need a diaper till the end of the World Series.
You're gonna be losing a
Be
lot of
peeing my
sleep until
pants every day
October.
if I thought I could turn that
Yeah.
100 into 100,000 on a four component parlay. Did you see where the Stanley Cup ended up? It ended up in the Atlantic Ocean.
I love that.
Matt Kachuk goes out to a fabled spot on the Fort Lauderdale beach, the Elbow Room, and I guess people were aware that this was happening because there was a pretty good crowd out there, even though it was like 9 in the morning, and they're chugging beer out of the Stanley Cup. He picks it up and runs into the Atlantic Ocean. Now, had he lost his grip on that, it would have been really ironic to have some pot-bellied fat Canadian in a thong bathing suit, some French Canadian up the beach, see the Stanley Cup go by. He probably would have blown his brains out, thinking, "Hey, I've lost my mind." I thought I saw the Stanley Cup just float by in the ocean. All right, we want to make some money, and we have to get to some selections here. Troy wins. How do people get all of your info? Because you are on this streak. Before we get into your pick for today.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram. It's Troy West. Everything is documented there. Our website is troywins.com. We're happy to give you guys a free pick just for coming to check us out. I truly believe it's the best bargain in the industry. It's not just me, it's a group of collective guys putting our heads together each and every day to get you out quality picks. Totally get it. It's kind of the dog days of summer now, but we still got baseball. We've got the WNBA. We've got golf. We've still got things to bet. This is a 365-day a year business, as I tell people, no days off. So come take a look. Instagram, it's Troy West, and the website is troywins.com.
All right, how have you been doing this? What has been the formula for baseball? Because you've been on fire. You're 5-0 here in the program. Been on 4 weeks. You gave out the Celtics and the under on one of the shows, so you actually hit 2 in one. You got a doubleheader working. All of your baseball games have been winners so far that you're giving out. Is there any essential ingredient that goes into your handicapping factors to come up with these winners?
No, I mean it's typically just heads or tails with the coin, right? Isn't that what Brandon Lang? Isn't that what Brandon Lang used to do? No, no, we're putting in a lot of research. You know, we're trying to find hot hands, who's good on the road, who's not. I mean, you know, you look at my team out here in Seattle. You know, their ERA is double what it is on the road than it is at home. Their record on the road 6 games worse than they are at home. They're reeling right now. They just took a beating from your Rays out there in Tampa Bay. We put a lot of homework in, guys, how long they're on flights, looking at all sorts of different trends, teams that hit the fastball, teams that don't hit off speed. We're truly putting in the research. And my pick today, we're going with the Minnesota Twins. This team's been up and down. They've got Woods Richardson on the bump tonight. He pitched well in his last outing. The Twins bats are starting to heat up a little bit. They're on the road at Arizona, going up against Ryan Nelson, who has not been good as of late. I like Wood Richardson and the Twins to get it done. You get the Twins at about a minus 120 price. That's a late game tonight. So stay up late in Florida and cash your tickets after this one. But it's a 6:40 start out here Pacific time. I like the Minnesota Twins to get us to 6-0, Defo.
All right, a lot of people will be paying attention. I don't know if you have a thought on this game. The so-called Mayor's Trophy game, Subway Series, Yankees and the Mets. It was a wild one yesterday with Judge hitting a grand slam when the Mets seemed to be in full command of the game. They ended up winning the game 9-7. Gill goes for the Yankees tonight. He was brilliant until his last start when he got shelled. I don't know if you have a feeling or an opinion on this game, not necessarily to make it an official pick, but would you be inclined to think that maybe the so-called jig was up with Luis Gill, who was surprisingly brilliant through the early portion of the season here, at least to the halfway point, until he got bombed his last time out. Do you think that he bounces back into his good form, or is that a sign that maybe he'd be a good guy to go against? The Mets have been hot, too.
Well, I don't want this to go against my official record, but for the listeners out there, we do got
this
a
is off
prop
the
bet.
record, my friend. It's off the record. Yeah, it's Rudy
Prop
Giuliani
bet.
time. Off the record.
under 6.5 strikeouts for Lucas Gill was a prop bet that we released last night. So if you can get that at around 5.5 or 6.5 under, like you said, this is a big game for him. Subway Series. He hasn't pitched in this type of atmosphere before, even though the Mets aren't good this year. This is still a huge game for them. So I expect Gill to be around a 4 or 5 inning, a lot of high stress pitches for him. And we think he'll be balanced in the 4th or 5th inning. So we actually sent out an official play on the website under 6.5 strikeouts for Lucas Gill today.
All right, let's hope the Twins prevail today and that your undefeated streak stays intact here on the show. It certainly is good for us. I'm sure it's good for you and for all of your backers. Once again, the site to go to for all of your selections and all of your handicap and brilliance.
Yeah, thanks, guys. To get to TroyWins.com, we're happy to give you a free pick. The Instagram is at It's Troy West. Come take a look. Come give us a follow. We give out all sorts of free picks on the Instagram. Some great gambling information, money management, all sorts of stuff. So looking forward to talking to y'all. It's TroyWins.com.
All right, very good. Troy, thanks so much for being with us. Pleasure having you on the show. And undefeated. That's good. I mean, you're always happy when you can find somebody that actually has some kind of an acumen and intuition into what the hell's going out there in the gambling world. All right, we have to run. Thanks so much for being with us here on the show. I want to apologize. I guess yesterday we got into all of that Mama Cass stuff. Turns out that was a bad reference for a lot of reasons. Number one, we didn't mean to do any fat shaming, so maybe it was in poor taste. Number two, the fact is that she probably didn't choke on a ham sandwich, right? The whole fucking theory was inaccurate, Lubie. So had the Panthers lost that game to the Edmonton Oilers, Game 7, it would not have been the biggest choke since Mama Cass gagged on a ham sandwich. And we didn't mean to impugn the integrity of somebody's passing, but turns out that story, like a lot of things that are going on today, was largely a cover-up for some other mess. I think we covered our tracks here, and I don't know that we overcame our technical problems from the previous couple of days. Your head looks a little wide, mine looks a little slanted there, but hopefully we look okay to you guys, and we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks to Troy West. He is undefeated. Minnesota Twins is our selection, and Parlez-vous Français. That's going to be what it is in the draft tonight. It's weird, too, when you have no idea how these guys are. I remember when we've referenced this many times, the Miami Heat, who didn't care about the draft in the origins of Pat Riley's tenure here as an executive and a guy that was calling the shots. And they made a draft day deal for the number 25 pick with the Utah Jazz. And the Jazz had already selected a guy named Martin Murasep. So they're scrambling around trying to find some video that they can show of Murasep on the big board. I happened to be at like a Heat draft party, and they had nothing. And they ended up with one of those watercolor sketches that you get at like a Trump trial. And it turned out that the only evidence that anybody had that this guy even played basketball were artist renderings. And he didn't turn out to be much of an asset for the Miami Heat, who were very happy to get rid of him and deal him away very shortly after they made that acquisition. All right, we have to run. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with us. Good luck with everything that you wager on today. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. 24 years old for Belichick. Are you kidding me, Lubie? That's not even robbing the cradle.
Nah, it's gross.
Why doesn't he just date an embryo, this guy? Unbelievable. Are we jealous or are we looking on astonished?
I think it's gross.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that. Although, I probably would have taken it into consideration. Imagine me hitting on some 24-year-old right now. I'm right there, same age. I will see you guys tomorrow. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, Troy West, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in to today's edition of the Morning Briefing.